Back, Dow Jones Industrial Steel up 58 points. This as both Democrats, including this group led by Elijah Cummings, the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, along with Republicans, like the man to the right, he's Indiana Congressman Luke Messer, who spoke with Neil Cavuto earlier, joined the push for different levels of an investigation into the out-like Flynn situation at the National Security Agency. And the Twitterverse is already guessing that Flynn might try to delete possibly incriminating tweets he made days ago. So, you know, the people on Twitter, they're capturing screenshots of Flynn's tweets, and one of them stated, quote, "Conversation with Russian ambassador was broad-ranging and multifaceted. Nothing illegal discussed. I look forward to the outcome of FBI investigation." Well, we now know that President Trump says Flynn did mislead him, and Vice President Pence was misled as well on this questionable issue. Will there be a full-blown investigation, and how high might it go? Richard Haass served on the National Security Council staff under President Bush 41. He's now president of the Council on Foreign Relations and author of the new book, A World in Disarray. Richard Haass, thank you for being here. Sean Spicer in the last hour and a half said, Flynn's resigned, nothing more to see here. It's just a matter of trust, nothing illegal. So is that it? Is the story over?
Well, obviously not, and that's why White Houses can never be trusted to investigate themselves. I understand why they may see it as a matter of trust, of whether he told the truth to his colleagues, but there's lots of other issues here, and obviously people want to know what's motivating this, what's going on with Russia policy, and I think that's a proper area for the Congress to get involved with, and I hope it's bipartisan. I hope this is not simply Democrats, and I think we're already beginning to see Republicans demand some sort of an investigation. And I think also it raises real questions about the role of the National Security Advisor. We're about to, I assume, sooner see someone else appointed into this job. The real question is, what is this president going to do so this second person can succeed?
And by the way, you were right on it looking more and more a bit bipartisan here, because Roy Blunt of Missouri, who sits on the Senate Intelligence Committee, is now saying, quote, he wants an exhaustive investigation into the Flynn resignation. So what do you anticipate here? A demand for transcripts of the phone call? Are there transcripts?
Again, there's either recordings or transcripts. I think there'll be an awful lot of depositions taken. People are going to be asked to testify under oath. Some of this will probably be closed because of the elements of secrecy and the communications. But this, here we are. It's the first month of the administration, and already we've got a full-blown investigation with legal, political, and national security consequences.
Well, the president is questioning the leaks. He's going in that direction, while others, of course, are going in the direction of the investigation. But for everywhere the president went, even as president-elect, Michael Flynn was right there with him. Multiple photographs of them together. One of the obvious questions is, and Sean Spicer very clearly said President Trump did not instruct Flynn to talk about sanctions, but with the Russian ambassador, the very day sanctions were handed down on the Russians for meddling in our election, is Flynn simply a loose cannon? Or the elephant in the room is people asking, did Donald Trump know at least that there was something discussed?
Well, people are going to want to know that. And the fact that the Russians didn't retaliate, they essentially held their fire after dozens of Russian diplomats, quote unquote, i.e. spies, were booted out of the country. People are going to want to know what was suggested. So again, you've got legal questions and you've got real national security questions, because remember, none of this takes place in a vacuum. For more than a year, Mr. Trump and General Flynn were consistently, I would use the word benign, in their take on Russia. So people are going to ask the questions, essentially, what explained this? What accounts for this, given the Russian involvement in the hacking in our election, given their invasion of Crimea, their takeover of Crimea, given the war crimes they committed in Syria? Why is it that now this president and his principal advisor have been so sanguine or even benign in their policy towards Russia?
Well, do you find anything benign about this? The Pentagon says that there is a Russian spy ship about 70 miles right now off the coast of Delaware in international waters, but just kind of lurking there. I believe we have a map. Again, it questions this disinclination by the administration to say much of anything negative about Russia.
Well, that doesn't bother me. I mean, look, the fact is we each collect whatever intelligence we can on the other. And we do it through every means possible, technically, human, and so forth. That doesn't surprise me. The real question is, again, what kind of assumptions are we making about Russian motives? What are we doing? Let me give you some specific policy questions. Are we going to continue to reintroduce military forces into NATO Europe to deter further Russian aggression? Are we going to give Ukrainians some of the means to defend themselves? Up to now, the United States hasn't.
Nikki Haley at the UN did say, yes, she'd like to do that. But then there's the North Korean question. This is extraordinarily tense and serious, is it not?
Oh, ultimately, along with what Russia might do against NATO Europe, North Korea is probably just a couple of years away from being able to marry a nuclear weapon with a long-range ballistic missile that can reach the continental United States. And the question is, can we work with China to head this off? If not, are we prepared to live with it? Or are we going to feel compelled to use military force? How would China react? Okay. Would South Korea and Japan support us? This is truly consequential business.
It's great to see you. Thank you so much, Richard Haass.
Thanks for having me, Liz.
President of the Council on Foreign Relations. Thank